Welcome to the zoning board meeting for April 27th, 2021. The following meeting is being conducted by electronic means in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, amended 2020, which explicitly permits a public body to conduct meetings electronically during a state of emergency. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coaster and Asbury Park Press. All notices are on file with the board secretary. In addition, a notice regarding this virtual meeting and instructions were published in the Asbury Park Press and the City of Asbury Park website. A copy of that notice is on file with the board secretary as well. The notices and the conduct of this meeting are in accordance with the guidelines for virtual meetings issued by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs. Jack, please call us to order.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order, and I can call the roll since well, we don't have a secretary tonight, so I'm stepping in like I did in the past. Okay. Roll call. Daniel Harris.
Here.
Brittany Ashman.
Here.
Wendy Glassman.
Here.
Jill Potter.
Here.
Tim Slick.
Here.
Christopher Avalon.
Here.
Russell Lewis.
Here.
And alternates Catherine Minervini.
He's logging in.
Okay. And Bonnie Knock.
Here.
Okay.
We'll just
Don't forget-
recognize when Kitty's able to join us.
Sure.
All right, so we have some housekeeping items at first. We have a couple of minutes that were done by Irina, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 23rd, 2021. Which one is this? Oh, of the October 27th, 2020 zoning board meeting.
I'll second.
So the motion is chairman.
That's
and
correct.
Vice chairman is the second. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. I assume everyone knows who was there and can vote. So I would ask those who are eligible to vote, give me an affirmative vote. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Minutes approved.
I think we might have to do that one over, Jack, because I was absent for that, so we might need to have somebody else make the motion.
Okay, all right, you know what? Yes, okay, the board members who are eligible for, oops, moved on me. Board members who are eligible for the October 27th, 2020 meeting are Russell Lewis, Tim Slick, Brittany Ashman, Daniel Harris, Christopher Gonzalez, who's no longer a member, Catherine Minervini, Bonnie Knock, and Jill Potter. Okay, so let's get another motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 27th, 2020.
Okay, and Russell, would you kindly second that again?
I would second it, please. Thank you.
All righty, of the eligible members that I just mentioned, an affirmative vote, please.
Yes.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next one would be the February 23rd.
And I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 23rd, 2021 meeting.
I'll second.
This is 2/23. 21, so let's see here. Eligible members would be Christopher Avaloni, Russell Lewis, Tim Slick, Brittany Ashman, Daniel Harris, Christopher Gonzalez, Jill Potter, Catherine Minervini, and Bonnie Knock again. So we have a motion by the chairman, second by the vice chairman. All those eligible members who are voting in favor of this, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Motion carries, minutes approved.
And now we have a resolution to adopt.
Okay,
I make a motion to adopt the 306th Avenue resolution.
I'll second.
okay, so that would be Christopher. 306th resolution. Dan Harris was the second?
Yes.
Okay, and according to my list in the resolution, The eligible members are Daniel Harris, Jill Potter, Tim Slick, Brittany Ashman, Christopher Avalone, Russell Lewis, and Wendy Glassman. So we have a motion. I'll call the roll. Daniel Harris,
Yes.
Jill Potter,
Yes.
Tim Slick,
Yes.
Brittany Ashman,
Yes.
Christopher Avalone,
Yes.
Russell Lewis,
Yes.
and last but not least, Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous approval, motion carries, resolution adopted.
All right. So then we can proceed. Did Kitty ever make it?
I don't
Yes,
know.
I'm on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, for the record, Catherine Minervini is in attendance. Good evening, Catherine. Welcome.
And we have two board members, I think, that will have to recuse themselves. And they are,
Wendy Glassman, she is on the list of property owners within 200 feet, so she definitely has a direct interest in the application. And I believe Russell Lewis is also recused due to a conflict of interest regarding the architect for the applicant.
so Andy, would you please place Russell and Wendy in the general public arena?
Okay, so with that, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, the rest of the alternates can vote. That would give us a full complement of 7 eligible members for this evening.
All right, so here we go with 705 Sunset Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the notices and all the various accompanying documents for jurisdictional purposes. They're in proper order, so we have jurisdiction to proceed in this matter.
I appreciate that, Jack. So please proceed, Mr. Steinberg.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Mark Steinberg on behalf of the applicant, Dr. Rayo, who's here present tonight with her husband, and both of them will be testifying. I don't know, Jack, do you want to swear them in together?
No, I'd rather them testify. I don't like when 2 people testify at the same time. It usually gets kind of crazy.
No, do you want to? Okay.
I'll swear them in together, but I only want you to elicit testimony one person at a time.
Yeah, Dr. Rayo will do most of the testifying.
Okay, Dr. Rayo, please raise your right hand so that I can see it. Do you solemnly swear, thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can lower your hand. Please state your name for the record and spell it and give us your address.
Savitha Rao, Savitha Rao, and the address is 705 Sunset Avenue, Asbury Park.
Thank you. Mark, I'll swear in her husband. Sir, please raise your
Sure, and then Donald Passman is our architect. If you want to swear each person in
Yeah,
individually.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Sir, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name for the record, spell it, and tell us your address, please.
Sachin Shah, S as in Sam, A-C-H-I-N as in Nancy. Last name is Shah, S-H-A-H. My address is 705 Sunset Avenue in Asbury Park.
Okay, where's Don Passman? Here he is. Don, you're on mute. Thanks. Please raise your right hand. How are you? Do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the record and your affiliation with the applicant.
My name is Donald Passman. I'm with the firm Passman Ercolino Architects. We're the architects for the project, and I am a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey.
Great. I also want to swear in Donna Miller, board planner, and Doug Cleland, our board engineer, so that in case they're needed at some point, they can contribute. Doug, you're on mute, please. Unmute. Thank you. Please raise your right hands. You solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, respectively, starting with Donna, please state your names for the record and your affiliation with the board.
Donna Miller. I work for Clark Caton Hints, and I am the board's planner.
Thank you. Doug?
Doug with Insight Engineering, Board Engineer.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Basically, the applicant tonight seeks to renovate and expand an existing single-family dwelling with a 1 1/2 story addition in the rear of the dwelling, a second story deck in the front, and a rear deck, and which requires a number of bulk variances and some design standards. Dr. Ray, pronounce it for me. You have to be unmuted too.
Rao.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Rao.
Rao. Okay, I apologize. Okay, Dr. Rao, can you give us a little bit of your background and how you found this property and what your intentions are?
Yeah, so sure. So about in 2013, I started my residency program, and the first 2 months were in Neptune at Jersey Shore Medical Center. So we both rented a little studio in Ocean Grove because we both grew up going to the Jersey Shore and just loving it. So we thought it would be a good opportunity in July and August to spend the summer at the shore. So that's when we kind of got to know Monmouth County and all the beach towns, and we really fell in love with Asbury Park in particular. So ever since then, we've been coming to Asbury Park and really loving it. And then we found this house about 2 years ago now. And, you know, we really do love the character that it has. We haven't really found too many homes in Asbury Park like it. So we would love to make it our primary home. And we're just looking to make some updates and make it more functional and live there year round.
And you hired Mr. Passman to sort of redesign the interior and change the non-functioning addition that's existing. Is that correct? Okay. So I don't have any further questions of my client at this point, and I'd like to call the architect to go into what we're planning to do.
Mr. Steinberg, wait.
Lest the board members of the public has any questions at this
Right.
time of Dr. Rao, but she will be called back later possibly.
Well, first let's ask the board if they do have any questions before you proceed. I personally don't have anything right now to ask Dr. Rao, but does anybody on the board have any questions for Dr. Rao? Okay, do our board professionals have any questions for Dr. Rao?
No? Jack speaking.
Donna or Doug? You're both muted, so I can't hear you.
Sorry, no, again, if she's gonna give us some more later, some additional details than possible.
Okay, I agree.
No questions from me at this time.
All right, thank you, Doug. All right, so go ahead, Mr. Steinberg, please
How about
proceed.
members of the public?
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll open it up then to the public. Does anybody have any questions at this point for Dr. Rao?
Yeah, based on the testimony that she provided.
Andy, is there anybody with a raised hand?
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Okay, so then we can proceed.
Okay.
Okay, Don,
Yes,
you were engaged by Dr. Rao and her husband, Mr. Shaw, to renovate the house. Is that correct?
that's correct.
What were the problems that they were encountering that required?
1 second first. The board has to recognize him as a licensed.
I apologize. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Mr. Passman's appeared before us on many occasions. Any problem with accepting his credentials?
No, none whatsoever. We accept your credentials, Mr. Passman. Please proceed.
Thank you.
Okay, so you were charged with the task of renovating the house to fit the needs of the owners. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what did you face? What was the
So
situation when you engaged?
I came about to understand the house by, looking at it, but also we measured the entire house, top to bottom. realized what it's made of and its character, and really a beautiful house. I've looked at many, many houses in Asbury Park. This one was one of the top ones. Beautiful moldings and fireplace, and most of it's intact. It's a little aged with some of the finishes and so forth, and maybe some of the exterior features, but for the most part, in very good shape, built very well. It had a one-story addition that was put on. I'm not sure when. It's part low basement, part crawl space. And the first floor, it was a one-story addition, had a bedroom, like a little apartment, and it was kind of chopped up. The kitchen wasn't modern enough. And the bedrooms were, besides one on the first floor in this apartment, there were 4 bedrooms, like a 4 square, really. 4 bedrooms and 1 bath on the second floor. The third floor, well, half story really, had about 2 or 3 rooms up there, 2 real kind of finished bedroom type things. So the idea is to say, okay, well, they need more space, expand the kitchen, modernize some of the features, especially the kitchen, but this first story addition in the rear was ugly, number one, on the outside, but bad on the inside. So the idea was to go straight up and make it, again, a 2.5 story feature, just like the house is. So the whole plan is to expand that, also create a master bedroom suite toward the park on the south side, take advantage of the park and get more windows and so forth. Eliminate, there were 2 small bedrooms there and 2 small closets. And then behind that, instead of the 2 bedrooms that were behind the stairway, was to have 1 bedroom, expand where the single bath was and make it the bathroom area, and then a hallway back to this new addition, which is approximately 16 feet back or so. So now you had this full 2.5 story house that continued across its footprint that it had prior. And the modernization of the second floor, especially with bathrooms and laundry area and everything else. And then on the upper level, because we have a roof that we're going to match the existing roof, we have this half story. And in that half story, we've got a dormer for a bathroom up there. Because as my clients wish to have is, okay, the main bed, the first floor there was a bedroom. And that was for Dr. Rao's mother, who lives with them, to stay there and have her own little suite. The rest of that first floor became sort of a general living area. Then on the second floor, there's a master suite, like I said, and then 1 existing bedroom sort of, and 2 new ones. Then on this upper level, they wanted to have their offices because they work out of their home. And each one had their own separate office. So those 2 bedrooms that were sort of bedrooms before are really going to be their office. And then because they're working up there, there's a bathroom. And then with a little bit of space on the west side, we had a dormer that could be like I think we had like a workout area or something like that. So we gained all this space by putting dormers up in the half story so that it matched the rest of the house. And that was the purpose of it. I mean, no one wants to put a low sloping roof on a steep sloped house. So aesthetically, it's, I think, a vast improvement as to what is there now, especially in the back. And then the rest of it is cleaning up things like windows and siding. And one of the features that is really up for grabs tonight is that there's a sort of a wraparound porch. It doesn't wrap very far around, but it's a wraparound porch on the south side front of the house. And my clients would like to have a deck off their master suite instead of just the hip roof that's there. Now they can just sit out and have a cup of coffee and look at the park and have the south side exposure.
Mr. Passman, I don't mean to interrupt you, but are you going to be sharing some of your drawings with us as you speak, or?
And I mean, if someone can let us in, I just want to give you a little overview. So that's really.
Sure.
And
I believe that we have submitted and have had pre-marked the plans that Mark Siegel pre-marked them for you to share. Is that correct, Don?
Yes.
Okay, can we do that now?
I don't know who's in charge of sharing. Is it the board or myself?
The drawings were not pre-marked?
Yes, they were.
They were.
Anybody can share if, Don, if you want to do that, it might be easiest.
Okay, just wanted to.
Yeah, as long as they're pre-marked, you can share them.
So the site plan can show you a little bit about what's happening with the site. There is, the existing house is the white kind of rectangle here with the front porch that wraps around, is the shaded part here. And in the back is the shaded part of what's being added onto.
I don't think what's on our screen is what you're talking about.
Really?
I'm looking at the key map and the zoning information.
I can't expand it for some
It's
reason.
part, I think you got to move it over.
I can't move it over.
This is Andy with APTV. I'm the one that threw this up here.
Oh,
Ah.
that's-
Anyway, I can't maneuver.
can you move it over, Andy?
Yep. Which way? This way?
So we can see the site plan over here.
Okay, yeah, I got multiples up here. Hold on one sec.
Right.
Are we looking for A1, A3? What are we looking for?
Start with A1.
Good?
Right-hand side of this page. You can expand that a little bit.
Yep. Give me one sec here.
Okay. Can everybody see that? Is that
No.
clear?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Okay. So you can see the extent of the existing house, the front wraparound porch that doesn't wrap all the way around, just wraps around about 5-6 feet. And then the rear, this addition, which is over the one-story piece. And then there's a rear deck and steps down. So that's the general idea of what we're doing here. We are requesting a side yard setback, and that's in the area on the west side of the house toward the shaded new area. I don't know, can you see my cursor? No.
No, only his, Mr. Passman.
All right, but anyway, it says 5.89 feet. It's from the surveyor, but really it's 6 feet, which is what the code allows. It's just that the surveyor measured it to the siding, and the siding sticks out from the foundation. So that's one of the variances that is listed. And we're going straight up from what was there, straight up another story and a half.
So that you have not changed the footprint of the house?
That's correct.
So that
For the roofed areas, for roofed areas.
okay, so that the previous addition that was there, that you're renovating and changing to a 1.5 story or 2 story, is in the same place as the other addition was?
Yes,
So that the side yard is, so the side yard, it says 5.86, but you're telling me it's 6 feet? What's the difference?
well, it's a couple inches, but that's just.
I know that. I mean,
No, but it's
it's
just
measured to different,
the siding. It's just because of the siding. But anyway, that's one of the variances. So if you look at the variances, and that's one of them, it's number one, 5 point, whatever it is pretty small, but really to the foundation, it's 6 feet.
all right. And it follows the same line as the pre-existing addition, correct?
Yes,
And there's no further encroachment to the west.
that's correct.
But there is an increase in height. Is that correct, Mr. Passman?
That's correct. But
Yes.
that's, again, 6 feet from the property line, which is permitted.
Yeah, I guess we need a variance. It's depending, it's measured to the siding. If you measure to the actual building minus the siding would be 6 feet. But if it requires a variance, we've requested that. And of course, the mass of the addition is larger because it's 2 stories as opposed to 1.
Correct.
But you didn't expand it any farther to the west than the existing one.
That's correct. It's in the same footprint, straight up.
Technical question, is that a pre-existing side yard deficiency?
No. Well, if
Well, I'll ask Donna.
foundation of being 6 feet, it's fine. If you go to the 5.86, then it is.
Okay, I'd like to ask our planner. I think she indicated there was an existing side yard deficiency, and if you're going to be consistent with that, it's still a variance. But as small as it may be, it's still a variance. I just want to make sure.
Well, I believe that the deficient side yard setback is for the existing front part of the building also.
Donna,
Hi.
hi. Side yard setback, have you heard the testimony of the architect?
Yeah. So there's the presumption that it's a pre-existing legal nonconformity because
Okay,
the house.
right,
Clear.
I get that, right.
So there's that existing deficiency on the northwest corner
Okay,
where it's less than 6 feet. And then there's the deficiency for the aggregate or combined side yard setback because, or I'm sorry, I take that back.
You make
Um,
that.
Yeah, I keep looking at that 12 feet and my brain is just like, yeah, so they're deficient. No. And so the new addition or the reconstruction of the ground floor with the new 2.5 story above it is in line, from what I understand, with the core part of the building. So we're saying that's being expanded. The deficiency is being expanded because it's less than 6 feet, and the deck
okay,
is also going to be less than 6 feet.
okay, all right, I get it, okay.
Hang on though. I've been buried in the conditional use standards and I can't find the thing I'm looking for. But I think we have a problem with the application
Oh,
because it was not presented in any of the paperwork that we received that there would be the doctor's professional offices in the building.
No, that's been misstated by Mr. Passman.
Their offices and they work from home.
Well, they work from home, as we all do in COVID, but the doctor's going to have an office in Red Bank and a practice. She's joining a practice in Red Bank. She's may do some telemedical stuff at home in her study, and her husband works both from home, as we all do today, and I'm doing. But neither of them are going to have their professional offices in the building.
All right, so we need to put, because the door's been opened to this question, we need to get some testimony. We can do
Absolutely.
because the ordinance.
Does that define a minor home?
Yeah, the ordinance says a minor home occupation, you can only have one room in the building used for an office. And then a major is a conditional use. So, we want to clarify that whether or not it is a minor or major, any type of home occupation use. And if it's not, then great. But if through testimony we find that it is, then we'll have a new problem.
Well,
it's up to the board to see how they want to proceed, at least if they want to go back to the owner's testimony as to how the office situation is going to be used.
yeah, let's go back to the
Out of the way.
Okay, and get that done right away. Okay. So if we can just take this.
No, we've already started with Mr. Passman. We can't go back to Dr. Rao. First, let's finish with Mr. Passman and his testimony. And then we will go back to Dr. Rao and clarify this, whether it's a minor home occupation, a minor occupation in the home or not. And if it is, then we're going to have to probably have the application move to another date, Mr. Steinberg.
Well, that's why I know it's out of the ordinary to go back to a prior testimony, but let's get that out of the way. So we can go forward. You know what? So we'll go with that, Mr. Passman. It's okay. All right, let's continue with Mr. Passman.
What else would you like to know?
Well, we still need to see your plans.
Okay, so put up the other plans. Let's go to A2 and you can see what is a cellar, really more than a basement. I don't know if I can share.
Donna, you doing it again, or we're having
I'm trying.
the TV person do it?
I don't think anybody can see this. It's not the right one.
All we see is your file. We don't see any.
I can't seem to manufacture this, so I don't know.
But Andy has the plans. He can put out.
Yeah, what do we want? A2?
Yes, A2, please.
No.
It's listed as A3. Hold on one sec.
No, right, you go that way.
Okay. So this depicts, well, we're on the second and third floor, which is fine. That's page A3. And I can keep going there if you want, but because this is the new floor anyway. All right, so you can see at the front of the building, at the bottom of the page on the second floor plan, what we want to do with the proposed wraparound deck. The master bedroom is broken up as a bed area and then a sitting room. Then there's closet space behind it and a master bathroom. And if you go back to the stairway, which is the original stairway, there's a bedroom to the north. And then if you go down a hallway, you connect to the addition, which has 2 bedrooms, a bath, and a laundry. And due to the shape of the roof, I follow the shape of the roof over that second floor, and I create this habitable attic or half story. And that allows for these 2 studies at the front of the house, which is their home, den, place where they do work in their home, not with patients or clients.
Mhm.
And they go back, and then there's a bathroom and a little exercise area. So that shows, and the reason why, we did this thing in the back is to really follow the same roof line. And if you go to A2, if you can go to A2, you can see the first floor plan and what is basement / cellar. And it really is more of a cellar than a basement.
Andy, are you requesting Mr. Passman to go to A2?
Yes, please. A2.
Oh. I wish I could help, but
Me too. Okay. So on the left-hand part of this page, you can see what is the original basement. There's a partial basement behind it under this rectangular footprint of the rear addition that was put on. And then there's some crawl space. And really it's a utilitarian space. There's a furnace, the hot water heater, some miscellaneous spaces. It's not intended for, finished space. It's just basement for ductwork and plumbing and everything else that goes through there.
What's the height of the basement?
It's 7'1" from the slab to the bottom of the floor joists in the main body of the house.
So as a result of it being 7.1 feet,
Right.
it's included in the FAR.
I included it because it's unclear whether the FAR includes finished space, but I thought I'd include it because it is greater than 7 feet by 1 inch. And there's
So-
no finished ceiling on it. So if you put a ceiling on it, it now becomes 7'0.5". Maybe if you drop a ceiling, it's less than 7 feet.
If
But
it-
I'm just leaving that as, factual information, and it is part of the FAR that I included, but I also, on my chart, which we can go back to, but the chart indicates the FAR proposed, and it shows it with the basement and without, so you could understand clearly what is real finished space and what is not.
So on your chart, it indicates, of course, that the maximum permitted FAR is 0.50.
Correct.
And counting the basement, we get 6.
0.509, I'm sorry, 0.509 with the basement, 0.41 without. That's existing.
Existing. But with the addition, without the basement, we get 0.52. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And with the basement, 0.628.
Correct.
And that's the variance we've asked for, but you're telling us that
Well,
if the basement is not usable and if it were an inch or two lower, it wouldn't be counted.
that's correct. And thus, by putting the 0.52, yes, it's still a variance. The 0.02 variance we're asking for is 158 square feet. Just put it in perspective. That's a fact. Okay, so if we want to go to the first floor plan, Andy, if you can move over to that one. From the front of the house, you can see the wraparound porch. There's a foyer and a living room with a fireplace, a dining room, and a kitchen. Now, those were the way the house functioned right off the bat. But the kitchen was ended at the back of where that island is in the back wall. So it was a little bit confined. It wasn't very nice. There were some other little features in it that took up space. So we cleaned it up. We created an archway between kitchen and dining room to give it a more of an open feel. And then with the back addition, we have a small bedroom on the east side for Dr. Rao's mother with a shower, a toilet, and a sink, small bathroom. And then the rest of it is devoted sort of living space and like a little kind of space behind as like a not a workspace, but just like a little walk-through area to go back to the stairway. So if you park your car in the driveway, you come up these steps on the east side in that door, and then you sort of could go right to the kitchen. And then there's a deck on the back because you want to be able to sit outside and enjoy the nice yard.
You know, let's talk about the deck. How big is the deck? Is it 400 square feet?
Yeah, it's 25 feet across roughly, and it's 10 feet out. So it's about 250, I'm sorry, 29. It's about 310 square feet.
Okay. And that seems to be included in the lot coverage.
I thought it was included not in my calculations, I don't believe. The building coverage I had starts out as 25, the requirement is 25%. The existing is 32.7, and because of roofed areas aren't changing, I had 32.7. I believe the plan, Ms. Miller indicated thus otherwise, and maybe she can state information that we can.
But you have checked the ordinances, and basically the deck will be how high?
The deck is a couple feet off the ground, like it's about 36 inches off the ground, and it's wood construction. So the rain or whatever will go right through it to the ground below.
So it would be open slatted.
Yes.
And does it have any roof?
No roof.
Okay, so it's just an open deck, so that in your reading of the ordinances, that does not count as lot coverage. We may be wrong, but that's what the planner may correct us, but we read that it's not a structure to be considered for this purpose of lot coverage because it has no roof in it.
Why don't we get the planner in here? Donna?
Hi.
Hi. Do you mind letting us know where we stand with these things?
So actually, the board has dealt with this question in the past, and decks are counted in building coverage. And in fact, the denial letter indicates the building coverage is increased partially because of the creation of this new deck. Now, we also acknowledge that going forward with the new zoning amendments, that we're making a change to the ordinance, and we're clarifying that decks will no longer be considered toward building coverage. But for now, yeah, they count toward building coverage. Their porosity and what's underneath of them and their permeability may be reasons for permitting the deviation, but as of now, both the way it's been treated in the past, it may not be as definitively spelled out in the ordinance by, chapter and verse that it counts toward building coverage, but that is the procedure that's been followed.
And when is this zoning ordinance going to become effective, the change?
That's a really good question, because they've been ready for a long time. The planning board issued its consistency review and sent them back to council weeks ago. And, I don't know what the schedule is, but we've been waiting for them. There are a number of changes that would actually affect this application if they had been adopted by now.
Can I ask you what others, so the board would know?
Oh, we won't have a FAR standard any longer.
Okay.
And the community design regulations become design standards, not variances under zoning.
They would be design exceptions.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, well, I would, hopefully we certainly would want to proceed and request those variances tonight, but I hope the board will keep in mind that these are proposed changes to the zoning ordinance. All right, thank you. Can we go back to Mr. Passman?
Sure.
You ready for the front elevation?
Mr. Passman, you're muted.
Yes, got it. So I covered that. If you want to go to the next page, which is A4, we can talk about the exterior elevations. There it is. So I'll start on the upper right-hand corner of the south elevation facing Sunset Avenue and Sunset Park. That we have an existing front deck with a railing, and we create above that this new deck on the second floor, which we're asking a variance for that. And then there's sliding doors replacing double hung windows. And there's an awning window, although she didn't like the awning window. It could be a fixed window, probably.
Could I get a little clarification, Mr. Passman? What do you mean there's an existing deck?
Oh, no, on the first floor.
On the first floor, there's a porch.
Front porch, right, I'm sorry.
Front porch, not deck, front porch.
Front porch, correct. It's roofed. And so
Roofed with no deck, correct?
We're putting in a deck on the second floor.
Okay, I just needed some clarification.
Yes, no problem. I misspoke. So that's what the front elevation will look like. And we do have photos that I sent over, which I guess never made it. I don't know if they're in Andy's file, but you can see what the existing front looks like now. But it's very similar to this, obviously. The roof line doesn't change. The dormer is the same. The lower, what changed is the second floor, obviously, so that we can get my clients to sit out on this deck and enjoy the park view.
Let's talk about the height of the building. That's another variance.
Right.
The present height existing before renovation is how high?
Well, the height is taken as the mean height, and the mean height existing is 32 feet, I think 1 inch. That's to the mean height.
What will be the height of the addition?
When we take the addition, we're following the same roof pitch, but because it's a little bit shallower of a footprint, it's 31.5 inches is the new mean height. So it's higher than permitted.
Higher than permitted, but it's lower than the existing.
But lower than the existing.
Could you bring it down to the 30 feet? What would happen to the look of the building?
If you'd have to change the pitch of the roof, which would then not match the existing roof. And that doesn't make sense. And there's other ways of doing it, but none of them make sense rather than just follow the line of what's there.
While we have you on the front look, there are some design variances that we're looking for, and we need to explain at this point. Now, if I'm on the there was a question of whether or not we're going to keep the trim on the door. I think the planner thought we were removing.
Can I just interrupt you for a second, Mr. Steinberg? From my perspective, it seems like a lot of the elements of the house are being eliminated. And what is distressing to me is it's kind of taking away its charm that is part of the Sunset Lake Historic District.
Well, I clearly read that in your planner's report, and we do have responses that we've discussed with the applicant and Mr. Passman, and I was trying to get at some of those at this point.
Well, Mr. Passman is not qualified to talk about elimination of those elements. He's the architect, not the planner.
Well, but he's designed the building. I would respectfully submit that he can tell us what he's designed.
He may explain that he's removed the elements, but he is not really able to provide a defense why.
Let me just ask him his questions, because I think we have some changes that we want to provide. And then if we need a planner, we'll have to come back another night with our planner. But some of these changes will be.
But he's not a planner, Mr. Steinberg.
You're going to ask him, if I
I'm
may.
going to ask him architectural.
As an architect, what he's changed and why. He's not going to give any planning testimony.
I'm not going to ask him any planning testimony.
Good. Okay, I get what you're doing. But he's going to talk about architecture.
Right. So you have designed. We're looking at the existing porch. Will it have the same type of railings and columns that they exist now?
Yeah, so the existing front first floor porch, the columns are all existing. The trim and the moldings are going to be, if they can't stay exactly intact where they are because of the floor framing of the deck, they'll be recreated. So we'll keep the same crown molding that's on that porch roof, and we'll have railings above, and you can see in the drawing that the rail posts align with the columns down below. And they could be, they're meant to align. Now, yes, did I remove something from the front facade? Yes. On the first floor, let's start with the front door. There's front door and side lights and big trim around it. And right now it's like heavily painted, very dark colors. The owner's going to paint it a lot lighter so that you can read the details a little better, but the molding will stay in place. To the right or to the east of the front door, there was a large double hung window, the largest one I've seen. It's about 5 feet wide. And in place of that, they're going to put they want to put a sliding door. It could be a French door, but it's a French looking sliding door so that when you're in the living room, you can walk out onto the porch.
Now,
you're referring to the first floor?
That's the first floor.
Okay.
Now, we have discussed that there were some comments that, of course, the double hung windows are more in character, but you can design this slider to have grills. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that it would look like a lot of small windows.
It'll give it a little bit more, yes, it'll give it some more detail.
As a matter of fact, it could look like the grills on the house next door.
If I may, Don, did you refer to the community design standard or architectural detail design standards?
Well, we tried
for
to,
this district
yes.
when you created this?
We tried to, yes,
Tried? Or you looked, did you look? You looked at them.
yes.
And are these improvements consistent with those design standards from an architectural perspective?
I don't know. I guess I have to review that again.
Okay, all right, go ahead, keep going, okay.
Specific, but it was said that we removed things. Yes, we did, but we replaced them with items that were appropriate for the client and for the size and shape proportions of the house. So the house has some details which we maintained. There's brackets up at the roof line. There's the same freeze board over the windows and so forth. So some of the stuff were kept and some weren't. The house did not have any grills on the windows, as it were. They were all 2/2 double hung windows. There was
But
a window in the center on the second floor.
Let's stay at the first floor. So you can make the new window that you're proposing on the first floor to have grills and look like actually the house that's, I think it's Ms. Wasserman's next door, has that type of same look. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right. Now, can you now go up to, now there are the second floor is a deck, it's open. You said that the railings and balusters will match the first floor
yes,
and the existing architectural look. Is that correct?
yes,
Now, there are double hung windows to the left and to the right. Again, you would be replacing those with sliders, is that correct?
that's correct.
Or if the board prefers French doors. But again, they would have the grills to
We
tone
can,
that down to be a little more in line with what previously existed.
yes, we can do that.
Okay, and now in the center is now is a stained glass window. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, is that usable?
No.
Why is it not usable? Why can't it be
Currently,
maintained?
Currently, it's within a closet. So that's just positionally, okay. Secondly, it's in very poor shape and it's not energy efficient or anything, but it's in poor shape. I mean, you couldn't really use it as it is. I mean, none of the windows are insulated glass or anything. So the idea behind everything we're doing is in the mode of energy efficiency for the client who's going to live here full time. So they want a house that's warm in the winter and, you know, holds the air conditioning in the summer. So that window is being removed because it's impractical in terms of plan and in terms of its physical nature.
And you would also be replacing it with a window that had matching grills to the other windows?
We can do that. I mean, it can have a grill on it. Yes.
So they would all be, okay. And would the rest of the windows in the house have the grills?
We could do that. Yes.
Now, the second floor deck is also a design variance, if I may call it that. Have you scoured the neighborhood?
Well, I have driven around Sunset and other streets.
Are
Yes.
there other seconds?
There are other, on Sunset alone, there are at least 4, I think 3 or 4 decks that face either the park or the lake. On the opposite side, on Fifth Avenue, there's one that has like a cable railing deck on the second floor. So this is, you know, as consistent as the other ones, and it's probably designed more consistently with this house than the other ones that I've seen.
Now, you proposed the deck, second story deck, to wrap around.
Correct.
Okay, why?
Well, it follows the line of the first floor roofed porch. So it's consistent to follow that line so it doesn't look out of place. It only wraps around about 6 feet.
Okay, now you're showing us the side view now. So it wraps around
It
6
wraps
feet.
around 7 feet, that's all.
Okay,
But if that became a roof and there's a window there, I mean, it's a little more difficult. I mean, there's a hip roof there now, but this is trying to be consistent with the first floor.
right. And what's the depth of that from the railing to the wall there on the side?
From the railing to it's only 5 feet.
So, okay. And how wide is the deck from,
The entire deck is from the
Width.
front face of the wall, it's about 9 feet.
and the accessibility through those doors are from what room?
Master bedroom suite.
May I ask, Mr. Steinberg, what is the necessity of the second floor deck? Why is it necessary to have it?
Can I answer that?
I mean, you have a front porch that you can enjoy the park and the lake. I don't understand the need for the second floor deck.
Well, if you want to come out of your bedroom and have a cup of coffee and enjoy the view and the outdoors.
So you have to go downstairs to the kitchen and have coffee and you can go out to the front porch.
No, that's not true. There's a little wet bar kind of thing there for a coffee maker in the master suite.
Uh-huh. Well,
And the idea is on your.
I just, I mean, it is a little obtrusive for your neighbors.
If I can speak, just if this is what my client asked for, and I'm not opposed to it. They get a cup of coffee, they can sit outside. They're above the traffic. They have a better view of the park from up there, and they want to sit and have a relaxing morning or an evening. The two of them sitting out there, I don't think it's disturbing anybody because they're sitting out there having a conversation just like they would if they were on the first floor. That's as disturbing as the second floor. So I don't find that to be a noise issue or an issue of a neighbor, nuisance. It's a comfortable fact that, we designed many houses with second story decks just for this purpose. Most of them have some sort of view, as this one does. It's beautiful in the park up on that second floor. And it's a shame when you're in those front bedrooms now to look out, smaller windows, less light, and no real view. You have to look over this roof. So it's not great the way it is. It's better this way.
And as you indicated, in the area, there are a number of second story.
I appreciate that, Mr. Steinberg, but that's, each application is
Absolutely.
approved on its own merit, not whether there's a deck 2 blocks down.
And well, actually, there's one next door, but I'm only offering that because this is something novel. This is not something novel, not something new to the area, and it would enhance the look of the house, and it would be something that would be advantageous both to the owner and to the aesthetics of the home. It's going to be designed in a manner to match everything, and it's unobtrusive, and the applicant is requesting that variance to do so.
I think that's a matter of opinion.
No, it's a matter of fact that they're requesting it. It's a matter of opinion whether or not the board will grant a variance.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand, but it's nothing unusual to request something like this, and it's nothing unusual in the area to have this, and especially those houses facing the park, which is certainly advantageous, an advantageous view, which it's nice to be seen from all rooms, not just the lower rooms, which would be the more formal areas, but from the bedroom.
So windows don't provide you that view?
Well, then you're gonna look, if you have, first of all, the porch is probably only used seasonally. That's number one. Number two, if you have windows, then you're gonna pull a chair up to the window and sit down and have your coffee and look out the window. I mean, in reality, you would come out, relax, a couple of chairs up there, and better enjoy the exterior of your home and the view. It's an opinion of yours, and it's a request that the applicant is making.
I understand that. All right, please proceed, Mr. Passman.
If we move around to the other elevations, we can move to the side elevation there, which is the west side. The addition is behind the main portion of the old original house. It's set back already about 2 feet. And so you can see how we match the roof line shape and even dormer types in order to, keep consistent with the house. You can see there the rear deck, which is a deck, not a patio. It's over a slatted wood or synthetic wood, so the water penetrates through it. There's already this stairway that goes up to this door, which used to go to an apartment. Okay, so now it just goes to the, kind of living room, this side living room. So if you go down the page, you'll see the next elevation, which is the east elevation. Now this, again, there's a dashed line about 30 feet from the front of the house. That's where the old house ended, and the 1-story, you can see a dashed line of the 1-story shed roof that was there. So now we're flushing, this addition will be flush just like the one is now on the 1-story, and it becomes 2.5 stories. We match window proportions, we match the dormer, and it kind of creates this house that it could have been at one time rather than what it had before. So there's not much really distinguishing on this elevation, but in this one, you can see the roof line will continue from the dashed line of the old hip roof that was there. Now we can align with it and make the two dormers matching. If we go across the page, we'll go to the north elevation. That's the rear. And you'll see the deck, and the railing has been broken, so you can see the sliding doors that come out. There's a set of stairs that come down. We have windows in bedrooms above on the second floor. And then we have a little recess in the hip roof for a little third floor or half-story deck to face the rear yard. Just a little bit of an extra space. It's not that large, but it's just something as a little extra something that the clients preferred to have. And it kind of makes sense because it's actually less floor area in terms of FAR. So I think it helped out on all causes.
And again, those windows would all have grills,
They could all have grills, yes.
so they would give it more of a traditional feel than modern sliders. Correct?
I think that's most of the testimony about, let me just take a look. If you go to the page A5, this might help you also. The last page of my set is A5, and this one shows photographs of the house itself, the adjacent house, and also the existing elevations. So if Andy could do that, that would be great.
I hope. Andy, are you there? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, give me 1 second. I got to pull it up here.
okay. So I have a couple of photos here. One on the top upper right shows a streetscape view looking east, and that shows the existing house with its green shutters and some green trim and so forth, and the bottom first floor porch. And then it shows the house beyond. That one does have a deck on it and windows with grills that we would kind of match. And then if you go down the page, you can see that there's just a front elevation of this particular house, 705. And if you go to the left, you'll see the front door, which has very heavy trim color, but we would just repaint it. There's no reason to change it. And then you go to the next one, you see the rear elevation with the little shed roof and nothing very exciting there. Then down the page at the bottom, you can see the existing elevations, and we can just look at on that one, on the east elevation, you see that shed roof and the body of the 2-story house that was there, or 2.5-story house. And then the north elevation, which looks like the photograph that you just saw. And then the west elevation with the shed roof. And then finally the front elevation. Now there's the hip roof over the front porch. It's got 2 double hung windows with the center stained glass window. And again, it's not, the porch roof is nice and whatever. It's not the greatest. I think that the railings that we have are equally as nice as this little porch roof. And the shutters are a little old fashioned. Yes, I mean, they're kind of, but none of the rest of the house has shutters. They're not real shutters. They would never close across those windows. So they're not really a historic type look. We do a lot of work in Ocean Grove, and I know that's a real issue, and I'm familiar with that. And so in our design, we're having trim instead of shutters. So that's really what I have to say about the architecture. And I'll take any questions.
Well, we're not finished with the testimony, so
Okay.
let's go on to the variances, okay?
Yes,
Okay, we talked about the side yard setback.
Yes.
And we talked about the building coverage, which is enhanced by the deck, which now these zoning amendments will take out. Okay, front yard setback, there's a deficiency of about 4 feet. Is that an existing deficiency?
yes,
All right, so the front yard setback is existing, and of course, the second story deck enhances the mass of the variance, but they're all in the same location, the same footprint?
yeah, I don't know, they're all the same footprint. I'm not sure about the front yard setback, if that's a variance. I think it's
No,
consistent.
no. Stick with architecture. We're getting.
Yeah, it is,
We're going down the primrose path to planning here. Be
yeah,
careful.
no,
Okay,
Okay.
we're not
I'm
gonna
just
go there.
stating what the requirements are in the ordinance, that's all.
Says right in the report, it's a 25-foot front yard setback.
yeah, it's 25 foot, it exists at 31.1.
Right.
And we're proposing it at 21.6.
No, that's,
I don't understand.
21.5 is to the porch. The 31.16 is to the house. And that does not change.
Okay,
Nothing
It
proposed.
does by the installation of the deck upstairs. Let's, Donna, come in, please.
yeah, I understand that. It increases the,
Yeah, but he can't say that it doesn't change. That's an incorrect statement. It
Well,
does. change.
let me rephrase the question. I understand that a variance is required because now we're expanding, although upwards instead of outwards, the front yard encroachment.
Correct.
I agree with that, but I'm
Okay.
just trying to get from the architect that what he is building does not encroach any farther into the front yard than the existing porch. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get, okay? We talked about building coverage, we talked about building height, and we talked that the height is, although the height is existing, and the addition is going to be about 1.5 feet lower, but still exceeds the 30 foot. Is that correct, Mr. Passman?
That's correct.
And that is because in order to get the same roof line, you need that height, that pitch. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Architecturally wise, okay. And then the FAR, as we've indicated, if we count the basement, we get the bigger number. If the basement is not counted, and then we're just de minimisly over the 0.5. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then we went into the building design standards, and we have given the testimony as to what we can and what we can't do for changes in what we plan. Is that correct?
Say that again.
Yeah, we've gone over the questions basically that came up is what are we doing at the front door? We're keeping it, painting it, but we're keeping all that look.
Right.
You're replacing the double hung windows with other types of windows, but we'll provide grills to minimize any impact. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and that there's no way that you can unfortunately keep the stained glass window because it's in no condition for use. Is that your testimony?
That's correct. Yes.
Let's see, I'm going through the planners report. And I think that's those are the areas that have been questioned. Okay. So I do not have any further questions of Mr. Passman at this time. Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Steinberg. Does anybody on the board have any questions for Mr. Passman?
Yes, I do. My question is on that rear deck thing. I don't see it on the floor plan. How big is that area?
It's about 12 by 10.
So the back deck on that,
It is on it's on the habitable attic floor plan.
okay, which exhibit is that? A2?
It's on my drawing A3.
A3, okay, thank you.
Okay. We're talking the one on the third floor or the one on the ground?
Yeah, the one on the third floor, because that would be looking out onto the backyard, but I think from that height, you'd also be looking at all your neighbors' yards as well. But that's just my opinion. I'd have to go out there and look. But, okay, thank you.
I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that requires a variance.
It doesn't, as far as I know. But
Donna?
upper decks are generally a problem.
Donna, please unmute yourself.
Aye.
Yeah, Mark made a statement that he doesn't believe it requires a variance for the rear deck upstairs. I don't know. I need your opinion.
Of itself, no.
Okay,
There's no prohibition on that.
okay. Just want to make sure. Okay.
Any other questions from any of the board members for Mr. Passman?
I had a question about the stained glass window, and I'm sorry if I missed this. What is the reason why you can't reuse that?
It's in poor condition, like really poor. It was in a closet, not ventilated very well. It's just in bad shape, and it's not an energy efficient type of thing. I mean, it'd be very weak to leave it there and try to repair it would be astronomical in cost.
Has there, okay. Okay, the trim around the door, you said you're just going to paint it? That's the only thing that's going to be changed?
Yes.
Do you, okay. All right, that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Anybody else on the board for Mr. Passman? I have a question, but it doesn't really relate to architectural. It's more of an engineering question, and I'm going to have to ask Doug for his opinion, because there is no engineering report for this particular application. So with all of these elements that are going to be added, upstairs decks and balconies and additions, is there any excessive amount of water that's going to be caused from this application onto other people's properties or even their property? Doug, can you answer that?
You're muted.
Everybody got me?
Yeah.
Yes. So I had a couple questions for Mr. Passman that is directly related to what you were speaking to, Chris. So maybe I can go ahead and ask him, and then
I'm not sure if he's the person to ask, though. That's the problem I have with this.
Well, so I guess in terms of building coverage, what I was thinking was, I was going to ask him if there was any new roof area being created, or is the increase in building coverage directly and explicitly related to the deck? I think he can answer. And then the next question would be in terms of where the existing roof leaders discharge. And then follow-up question would be, will the roof of the addition and the balcony / deck on the back, on the upper story, will that all connect to the existing roof leader system?
I can answer that, both questions. So because we're building directly over the one-story addition, there is no additional roof area created by this design. So there is no change in drainage from more roof or whatever. As far as downspouts and drainage, we can connect to the same location similar to where the drains are now. Around the main part of the house, that doesn't change, just the back portion, which drains off the back, will drain off the back as well in relatively the same positions.
Does that satisfy your questions, Doug?
Yes. So, I would say, no, there is no increase from the roof in terms of new runoff created. And if it can all drain to the existing system in place, I'm okay with it. I have other questions about the deck, but that's a different topic.
Sure. All right, well, let's finish with the board and then we'll move to the professionals for those other questions.
We're making comments later, Chris, or do you want comments now or just questions?
No, right now it's just questions for
Okay,
for Mr. Passman. Does anybody else on the board have any further questions for Mr. Passman? No? All right, so then let's open it up to the board professionals. Donna and Doug.
Doug, do you want to go first since you have that? That's kind of everybody's mind is still in the drainage area there.
Sure. So I think I have my answer to this already, but just a point of clarification. The deck is proposed to be standard wood frame construction with gap deck boards. Is that correct?
Which deck?
The
Which
rear
deck?
deck. The rear deck is yes.
The rear
Yeah, the
first,
one in the
the ground
ground
floor.
level.
Yep. Yes.
And the material underneath is
Well,
pervious?
now it's grass and so forth, but it can be gravelly kind of, it's not going to be concrete. It's going to be something pervious, ground material.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only question I had.
Thank you, Doug. Donna, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I've got some questions. Okay, so I just want to clarify the thing about the stained glass window. So some of the reasons you've given for its removal is it's in a closet and it's that space will continue to be a closet. Is that correct?
No, I didn't say that's one of the reasons we're removing it. It happens to be in a closet now.
I see.
I don't think it got any maintenance to it, so to speak. And so it's deteriorating. And that's why it's being removed.
Okay. It just, currently it's in a closet, but in the renovation, that space will no longer be a closet.
Correct.
Right, because it appears that there's still going to be a window and the vent from the fireplace in that part of the facade.
I think the window would be too low for the fireplace also. So it would be tough to keep that window in its present state.
In order to
Even if it were viable.
do what you've designed.
Excuse me?
In order to do what you've designed. And if your design centered on saving the window, then other things inside the floor space would move, correct?
Yes,
I mean,
and
that fireplace is not there now, it's a closet.
I try to do that too in my design, but it didn't work out.
And then the other thing is, and perhaps Mr. Steinberg conflated in his description of the replacement. So there's double hung windows on the front facade. Those aren't going to be replaced with other windows with grills. Those are going to be replaced with doors, correct? You're changing windows to doors.
That's correct.
Okay. But you're going to suggest that they'll be fitted to look like they have grills or divided lights.
Correct.
And I can't really tell because there are horrible storm windows on them. Do the existing windows have divided lights or grills?
No.
Okay.
None of them.
So you're just suggesting divided lights or grills in order to make it look more architecturally Victorian or some other window style?
Yes.
I see. Okay. And then the double hung on the first floor is enormous. Did you say it's 5 feet wide?
I think at least 5 feet wide.
Okay. It is. I mean, I obviously did not go up on the porch to, get a better scale, but it does seem quite immense. And that one's also not divided lights. Is that just single pane?
Yes. Yes.
So that sounds like also a very unique architectural element in this building. So, you know, swapping that out for a door, you know, I think that's a real significant effect.
Yeah.
All right, so stained glass window, the double hung on the first floor. Whether or not there's actual divided lights now, there aren't. You're going to take off the shutters, which is fine because they're not appropriate to the architecture already as it is. You spoke, okay, so then the conversion of the porch roof to a deck. So we're going to have this flat surface now instead of this sort of hip with railing that's going to more or less, you know, carry the symmetry from the first floor porch up above and match the railing types, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then the building height, although the existing building is excessive, you are prioritizing matching the roof line on the addition rather than reducing the height over the addition, because you're sort of like, those are the two choices. You either conform with the height or you deviate from the roof pitch on the existing building. So you've chosen to go with match the roof pitch.
Yes, to be consistent. Right.
And you've chosen to stick that dormer on the north end with the deck for views, more outdoor living space. That's what the owners are seeking. Can you explain why you chose the shape and size?
Of?
That, how that roof deck works? Because it seems a little kind of awkward, or kind of, you know, it's not symmetrical. It's got a weird kind of kink in the one. Actually, I'm trying to, I can't really see the plan.
It is
I don't know.
symmetric.
Andy, can you bring that sheet back up? Is that A4, A5?
A3.
Donna, are you talking about the upper back deck?
Yeah. In plan view, not elevation. So yeah, that must be A3.
Right. So let me just respond that it is symmetric. It doesn't look like it in the plan because
I see that. So that's what's going on. It's because of the way
the dormer is.
or hip, whatever happens on the side. There's that little, there's a, I'm pointing to the screen. You can't see where I'm pointing. On the east side of the back wall, that's what's not symmetrical. Okay. Because you're bumping out that dormer on the east side of the house differently than the dormer on the west side of the house.
That's correct.
Okay. So it's not really the deck, it's the back wall. Okay.
It's the dormers that create that plan view, but in elevation, it's symmetric.
Okay, so what you've done though is brought the deck all the way out to the exterior building wall. So it's just the eave that protrudes out beyond the edge of the deck.
That's correct.
So it just uses the entire ceiling of the second floor as its base.
That's correct. And it was a point to end this edition with something that the client wanted. If I just kept the roof there, it would have been not very interesting as an ending. The existing house has a hip roof with a dormer facing the rear, but if I added a dormer facing the rear, it wouldn't give them this, you know, if they're working and they want to take a break, they can go out to this deck and just get some fresh air while they're, you know.
I completely understand. I mean, I just question again, it's the north side of the house. It's not particularly, you know, you're talking about removing a stained glass window because it's not energy efficient. It's a pretty big surface area for the north side of the house. You know, maybe more of a Juliet type balcony is better suited to the north side.
Part of it was the roof line is coming down. And
Mhm.
so where I cut it off for the door gives you door height. If I moved it out further, you wouldn't be able to walk. You'd bang your head.
No, I'm not talking about the wall. I'm talking about the depth of the deck.
I'm sorry.
I'm talking about the depth of the deck instead of taking it the
Oh.
full depth out to the exterior wall, the north, yeah, that wall, instead of, if you brought it back halfway.
It's
It's
a lot
enough to
more-
sit on.
it's
It's
a lot
not,
more
you're
di-
not having a party out there, but it's enough
Right.
to sit on.
It's a lot more difficult to structure it that way. So I didn't structure it that way. It's a lot more detailing and a drainage issue. So I tried to minimize that condition.
Okay, and then explain the rationale for wrapping the front second floor deck and not just terminating it along the front.
It's possible. I just thought it was more consistent if I followed the same shape of the porch below. The existing hip roof is only a 2.5 on 12 pitch. It's very low. And so, it's not really appropriate for shingles, although it does have shingles on it now. But you really aren't allowed by most shingle manufacturers to do that. And again, with the low slope, it's very, it doesn't have a lot of visibility, this porch roof. So I thought, well, you know what, why keep a little portion of it? Just make it consistent with the porch below so it has a consistency. It was a rationale. It was thought of.
Okay, no, and I appreciate that. I mean, I think it looks okay. I think I have a bigger problem with the rear one, and I understand the rationale for that too. Now the ground floor deck also sort of wraps to the east side.
That's on A2.
Yeah, okay. So you're saying, because I thought I calculated larger than 300 square feet for that. So maybe it was because I'm also counting the stairs.
Talk about the rear deck.
The rear deck, yeah. Sorry, Andy, a little
bit. That's
there
okay.
you go.
Yeah, it wraps around because they wanted again, if they're going to park in the driveway and they're going to come into the house, they go up this set of stairs and in, not going, so if the deck went straight ahead, you'd have to walk all the way around to those steps and then come in the sliding doors. So this was a more simple way of addressing that issue. Again, it was thought out. There were many other iterations, but this one played itself out as the most practical, especially for Dr. Rao's mother, who would come out of the car and could get some help going up the stairs and then into her bedroom and her space. So that was really most of the rationale with that.
Okay, so then the last thing I have is the floor area ratio, because this
Okay.
is like the really important thing. So the ordinance does define the calculation of floor area ratio to include any space measured from the exterior walls of the structure, all the structures, provided that it is at least 7 feet in height. And unless it's for parking. So we don't count the garage, but we would count the basement. So since the plan notes that the ceiling height, throughout the basement is basically 7'1", it doesn't really matter whether it's finished or not. Now, if you're testifying that as part of their renovations, they're going to finish the basement, and then it's going to have a set ceiling height of 7 feet, we're still going to count it as part of the gross floor area to use in the floor area ratio. So what exactly are we doing in the basement as part of the renovation?
I would let the client answer that question. They told me, but I think you'd want to hear directly from them about their plans on what to do in that basement, if that's okay.
So you haven't been directed to do any renovations in the basement?
That's correct.
Okay.
There are, in my
Your
mind,
plans.
there were no plans.
Plans just depict what's existing as far as the basement's concerned.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Your plans just depict, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Your plans depict the existing, not that there's anything that you're proposing in the basement.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we did have that discussion, and you can let them answer that question about their plans.
Yeah, when we go back to them, we'll talk about.
My plans did not include anything.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I believe that's it for me.
Thank you, Donna. So at this point, then we need to open it up to the public for Mr. Passman. And please, your questions should be related to his testimony only. Andy, do we have anyone in the public who would like to ask Mr. Passman some questions?
We have somebody with telephone number ending in 350.
All right, please state your name and address.
Ernest Mignoli, 710 7th Street, Boynton Beach, Florida. I'm a former 14-year resident of the area of this home. And I do have some questions for, I believe it's the architect, Mr. Passman, is it?
That's correct.
Yes.
He's the
I
architect.
have a couple of questions for Mr. Mignoli, please.
Yes, please go ahead, Jack.
Mr. Mignoli, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. You've stated other meetings lately that your intention is to move back to the area.
First of all, I don't even know why I've never heard you
Either
ask
answer my
anyone.
questions or I'm gonna
or-
hold you out of order and I'm not going to let you speak.
Okay, well then, why don't you do that? And I'm going to make a complaint with the county attorneys, the way
I'm
you're running
asking
these
you
meetings.
if
You
you've made a
can't, you have to
statement.
treat me the same as everybody else.
I
So cut
am.
me off, and
I
I'm going to
am.
complain.
You
I
can
never
be-
heard
Please
you
mute
ask
him.
any.
Please mute him.
That is because no one else resides 800 miles away from the subject application. I'm just asking you to verify if you have said at other meetings that is your intention to move back to New Jersey. That's all. That's a perfectly legitimate question because as an interested party pursuant to the Municipal Land Use Act, you must be defined as such. It's not just anyone from anywhere that can ask questions of applicants and witnesses. It's not the same requirements as a municipal council meeting where anyone from anywhere in the United States can call and ask. And that's all I'm asking you. Now, will you answer that question? Unmute him.
I'm looking at properties in Asbury, not for full-time, for
That's fine.
part-time. And wait a minute, let me finish. And I'm looking at a property that used to belong to Dr. Vaccaro on Sunset.
Great.
So I'm looking at properties right in this area,
Okay, great. Then proceed.
and I'm not 800 miles away. I'm 1,200 miles away.
Good. Okay, so you're further, but you can continue. Go. I just. you
Yeah,
answered my question.
well, a lot of my neighbors work in Asbury Municipal Building.
Please continue and ask your questions. You answered the question. Go.
Okay, so it seems to me that on the second floor, the deck that you're creating is just about exactly the same as the first floor deck, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and it's even going to wrap around on the east side, correct?
Correct.
And what you're going to add on the east side is a stairwell that doesn't exist, a stair, so that someone in the driveway can go to the second floor without coming in the first door or the first floor back door, correct?
No, that
Okay.
statement goes to the first floor.
The stair. Wait, we're talking about the second floor deck on the east side of the deck, which the south and the east is going to look just like the south and the east on the first floor deck. but you're going to add a stairwell to go from, I thought you said from the driveway somewhere.
There is an existing stairway from the driveway to the front porch on the east side. What we're
Okay.
adding is a deck wrapping around the backside with a stairway going up to it, all access to the first floor.
All right. So, okay. So I thought you said the deck on the second floor is going to be on the south side, on the east side, just like the first floor. But you're also saying it's also going to wrap around the north side
No.
on the second floor?
That's a rear deck. I'm trying to get you to understand the stairway. There's a set of stairs currently at the driveway side that goes up to the front porch. There's also a rear deck being added with a set of stairs that also goes up to that deck from the driveway side. Nothing goes to the second floor from the ground floor.
Okay, I understand. So what you're adding is to accommodate something that a stairwell to something that you're adding on the north side on the second floor.
No, on the first floor.
On the first floor. So there's no stairwell being added for the deck on the second floor.
That's correct. You're correct.
Okay. And you mentioned something about the possibility of a third floor deck on the north side, correct?
We are proposing a third floor recessed deck into the roof.
Okay. Is there one now, or is that like a window, or what are you trying to open up to create a deck?
Does not exist today.
It doesn't exist. So you want to, on the third floor, you're proposing to open up the north wall and create a deck that someone on the third floor can go out on.
I'm going to say yes, but to clarify, it's a half story, not a third floor. But yes, that general idea.
So you're saying it's in between the second and third floor, not on the third floor?
No, it's not considered a third floor by the ordinance. It's a half.
I don't know, I'm just going by what I heard you say. Sometime we plan to maybe make for the mother a third floor deck that she could go out on. That's not what you said, or it is what you said?
That's not what I said.
What's the third floor deck for?
It's, again, on the half story level, 2.5 story house, the half story level is for use by those on that half level, of which my clients are going to have a small home type office space. They can take a break and get a breath of fresh air while they're up there.
Okay. Did you mention anything about studies and office space on the first floor?
I did
In
not
other words,
that because it does not exist.
no, I thought the rationale for the second floor deck was that you want to use the first floor for offices, and it'd be easier in the bedrooms on the second floor to just walk right out on a deck. And maybe I'm wrong. I thought you said they're going to be offices only used by the doctors, no patients coming there, and they're going to be studies.
That occurs on the half story level. On the second floor is all bedrooms.
Again, this half story stuff is very confusing. But anyway, I think on the first floor, I just want to clarify that nice 5-foot window, you want to take out, you want to make that a sliding door.
That's correct.
And on the second floor, that nice stained glass window, which easily can be restored, you just want to get rid of that because behind the window is a closet, and you want to get rid of the closet, and you want to make, I think, a sliding door to come out on the deck.
I'll clarify what that second floor is going to be.
No, just a stained glass window on the south side.
The stained glass window is in disrepair.
I heard that.
And that's enough for it to be removed. It doesn't have a real plan. It doesn't really work in plan. It's disrepair. The sill is too low for my client who wants to have a small fireplace there because they want to have a beautiful master bedroom. So it does not fit into the plan. Nor does
Okay.
the east-west window have a function anymore.
Now, I think you were asked, and I guess I would ask, with all these modifications that you're making, historical stuff and stuff that's considered beautiful in Asbury for 100 years, when you're removing something, you're going by the city's historical protection of the homes on Sunset Lake, correct? Meaning it all fits into the historical protection of those homes on Sunset, unless there's a variance. So am I safe to say that some of these things or all of these things that you're proposing don't fit that historical, and that's why you need a variance?
I don't know if.
Yeah, that calls for a legal conclusion, Mr. Serpico. It really doesn't go to his testimony.
Well, it does to the extent that I asked him if he had consulted those
Thank
design
you.
standards and the like.
Thank you.
And he said that
Right.
he did not. But that's the limited response. Mr. Mignola's question is fair.
I know, and Mr. Serpico, you asked him if he had the plans, and he said yes. Then you asked him if he looked at them, and he said no. So I'm wondering how you would architecturally design something if you have the plans in your hand, but you don't look at them. So anyway,
He didn't
let's
say
move
he
on.
didn't look at the plans. He said he didn't look at the design standards when creating the plans. But I understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay. So as an architect, and I'm looking at the two buildings, the house next door on both sides, and assuming that you're approved and you create this architecturally designed second floor deck, would you say architecturally that would impact the neighbor's view east and west? Meaning 703's view east and 707's view west. When you put the second deck on, not only are people going to be on your deck looking in their windows, but their windows are going to lose all their view, their lateral view. And I just wondered if architecturally, I think you notified the neighbors, but when you're designing, did you realize that if you're approved on everything, that your building will kind of dominate the three buildings in a row and will actually control the view of the lake, east and west, and possibly north? So you considered all that, right?
It was considered.
Okay. And did you consider that it wouldn't affect the neighbors on the east and west side?
Well, I don't know what you mean by.
Okay.
Impact.
All right, I'll clarify. You said you're going to create a deck for the people to go out on and sit and enjoy whatever. People will be on the deck. That deck on the second floor will look right into windows on the second floor in both houses on either side, because they don't have a deck there. So your deck will allow your people to look right in their windows.
I suppose, but I guess everybody has that same issue with windows that are facing other windows, etc.
Yeah, I know, but the way the house is now, it kind of allows 703 and 707 east and west views, and nobody looking in their second floor windows, which could be their bedrooms. I don't know, but I just wondered if, I know you had to notify them, if I would think, and I think the neighbors would think that.
Ernest, no, you're testifying. Only ask a question.
Okay. So do you think it will be imposing on the neighbors?
No.
Okay, thank you. Do you think the rear deck will?
No.
And do you think the third floor deck and walkway will?
No.
Okay. You stated that architecturally, and I don't know why there's no engineering report, but you stated architecturally that all the modifications will not affect the water runoff in any way. And if there is a need you'll just connect all the modifications, if they're improved, all the variances, to the existing water drainage system. Is that correct?
I don't know if there is an existing water drainage system. However,
Aren't there drains on the house?
yeah, there's roof drains. Same, we'll have the same, I testified that we would have a similar location to roof drains for the rear because the front isn't changing.
Okay.
But we're not increasing any runoff from roof areas or actually impervious areas for that matter.
Okay, and the runoff, isn't that really an engineering issue?
It is, but
And you're an architect, right?
I'm an architect, but I've testified many times and listened to testimony that if you're not increasing any footprint, you can't be increasing any runoff.
Yeah, but the city just passed, if you're aware, a very stringent water runoff and water quality amendment. And it actually requires an engineer with tests to certify and prove.
You're testifying, Mr. Manoli, you're testifying.
No, I'm not. Okay.
Yeah, you are. You'll get a chance to say this later. Yeah.
Why? Are you going to have an engineer?
No. I'm saying you get a chance to make your comments like this in the comment section.
Yeah, I know, but the problem with that is every time I'm at a meeting and you say that, you always end the meeting and tell everybody, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to speak.
Well, then you come back the next month and you.
No, I know, but it's not always a month. Sometimes it's 6 months later.
Whatever it is. This is not the time for you to make comments.
Okay,
Time for
okay.
questions.
All right, I'm going to ask more questions. So
Sure, go.
as the architect, what?
Go ahead.
As the architect, did you say that with this application, there's no engineering plan to the variances that you're asking for?
There are no engineering plans.
Are required.
Okay. With the application, can I ask you on other, I guess you've done similar things like this. Did you ever get variances approved with zoning?
No, that's irrelevant to his testimony. He's not a planner, he's an architect.
No, I'm just wondering if as an architect, he ever got proposed.
That's irrelevant, Mr. Manoli. That's irrelevant.
Oh, really? Then why did you ask for the engineering plans?
Don't ask us. You just keep going with your questions.
Okay.
It's irrelevant.
Okay,
If you were a
I
planner,
get it. No,
you would ask
I
a
get it.
planner, but he's not.
I get it. Okay. So the second floor deck on the south side, are you saying that that's going to be the primary use for the main residence? I guess the two doctors. The mother's going to be on the third floor, and it's going to be common area on the first floor. And it's too far for the people on the first floor in the kitchen to walk out on the front porch. So you want a second deck so that from their bedrooms, they can walk out on the second deck. Was that the architectural rationale?
I'm going to clarify. There's Dr. Rao's mother is on the first floor. First floor, rear. There's a first floor bedroom rear for her mother. That's number one. Number two, a master bedroom on the south side, which we're proposing to have sliding doors to exit onto a front porch, which is located on the second floor. The third floor deck is in the rear of it's not really a third floor, it's a half story, but if you want to say third floor, fine. It's because that's where they are going to do their home office work, a la pandemic, to do some, computer work, talking on the phone, etc. So when they're done, they can get a little rest and get some fresh air. Quote.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you testified that the reason for the second floor deck was for the two doctors, if it's two doctors,
No, it's not
while they're
two
working.
doctors. It's not two doctors. It's a husband and wife.
Oh,
They're married and they have a front facing master bedroom suite. They use the deck facing south from their bedroom.
on the second floor.
Correct.
Okay, so your proposal architecturally is because they asked you, is there a way that we could go from our bedroom out onto a second floor deck instead of going downstairs to the first floor deck? That's the rationale.
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you. Now I got it.
All
And
right.
then the mother, and then where are the two for doctor and wife only studies that you talked about on the first floor?
Doctor and husband.
They're on-
I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Those little
Okay, no,
office
that's
spaces,
okay.
those,
I thought it's somebody with a doctor's office in Red Bank, and then a couple, the doctor is one of them, a couple, they each have a study in the house, but not for professional use, for their own use. You know, as doctors, whatever they do, you know, they can use that, but no patients. And I guess no, you know, commercial deliveries and
Mr.
commercial
Manoli,
addresses.
do you have a question?
Yeah, Mr. Minogue. give me-
Yeah, that's my question.
What is your
So-
question?
So the reason for the second floor deck is so while they're working in their studies, they don't have to go down to the first floor, first deck. They can create doors and a second deck to go out and sit and have coffee.
I'd like to try to just clarify a little bit.
Mr. Passman, yes or no?
Yeah, answer direct question.
Just answer yes or no.
Answer the
No, what the
question.
question was, they are not going, they don't work on the second floor. They live on the second floor. They have their bedroom on the second floor.
I know, but you testified that they want to go out from the second floor with their coffee
Yeah,
when they take a break.
from their bedroom, like a lot of people like to do.
No, I'm just clarifying.
Yeah.
So that's what we're saying. The reason you're taking out the window on the second floor, the reason you're creating the deck is because when they're working on the second floor, they want to be able to go out on the deck and sit, relax, have coffee, walk around the side deck, whatever. Enjoy the lake from the second floor.
Just to clarify, they're not working. You said working on the second floor. They're not working on the second floor.
Okay. All right. Where are they working? On the first floor?
They wake up and they want a cup of coffee. They're going to bed. They want to go sit and enjoy the nice air in Asbury Park. On the deck, facing the park.
I don't know. As an architect, I thought you said the doctor has an office in Red Bank, but there's times where he wants to work at home, not professionally, not with clients, not with patients, but he wants to work with his computers and his study in a study, which is fine. I guess everybody does that. We all do that. You don't even
I'll
need.
clarify. She is the doctor, just so you know. She is the doctor. And she does
Okay.
have an office in Red Bank. And when she comes home or she's on the weekend and she wants to do some work at home, she'll go up to the third floor, what you call third floor, and work from that little office. No patients, as far as she can testify to that, but from what I understand, no patient. It's for her own use.
Okay. All right. So now I'm a little more clear. The third floor that the piece that you're adding is going to be where the doctor is going to work from.
In a home office capacity.
In a home, not in a, I agree with you, not like patients, not like a doctor's office, like a doctor working at home, which I don't even think you need a permit for that. But that's what that's for. And then the reason of their bedrooms on the second floor, you creating a deck, taking the windows out, put sliding doors in, and making a full wraparound deck, is that when they're in their bedrooms, they want to come out and have coffee on the deck without having to go to the first floor.
Do you have a question, Mr. Manoli?
That is my question. Is that the rationale?
You're correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, relative to design of the second floor deck, in your opinion, I think you said you're going to remove the shutters, correct?
Yes.
On the south side, second and first floor, or just second floor?
First and second floor front.
Okay, so the green shutters on the first and second floor on the south side only? Or I don't know, are there shutters on the west, on the east, west, and north side?
The shutters are only on the front, as far as
Only on the south side. first and second floor. So you're gonna do away with the shutters, correct?
Yes,
Okay. You're gonna do away with the matching awnings, the green and white awnings that go with the shutters.
they are not in the plan.
I don't know what that means. Are you gonna leave them or take them down?
Take them down. They're already down.
Okay,
It's
okay,
been there
okay.
since I've seen the
All
house.
right, now I think comes my final question. Architecturally, if you're approved for everything that you want to do you think that this house is going to look as beautifully historical as it does now? Or it's going to look almost like a two-family?
I'm going to say it does not look like a two-family, and I think it'll be architecturally beautiful when it's done.
Okay, all right. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there
Anyone else in the public, Andy, for Mr. Passman?
I have a city historian.
All right, Mr. Go ahead, Mr. Baumgartner.
Does this work?
It does.
Okay, good. Having some audio troubles on other Zoom meetings. Werner Baumgartner, 402 Fifth Avenue, appearing as the city historian. Mr. Passman, during your training as an architect, did you take any specialized instruction in historic preservation or adaptive reuse of historic buildings?
Nothing formal.
Okay. Have you had any courses or instruction on evaluating leaded glass windows?
No.
Okay. So regarding your testimony about the leaded glass window in question, referred to as the stained glass window, who rendered the opinion that it is damaged and unsalvageable?
Just from visual review, I didn't take it down and take it to a shop or anything like that. It just was not in good shape, and it was just not insulated glass.
Understood. Could you describe the damage that you observe? What exactly are you referring to as not in great shape?
Well, I'm not going to testify to that right now until I do a further analysis.
So you have no expertise in leaded glass windows at all?
Well, I don't know if it's a leaded glass window.
Well, you said it's a stained glass window. That's lead with pieces of glass in between them, correct?
That's an assumption. Not all stained glass windows in houses that I've seen in this area are real stained glass windows.
Ah, can you determine whether this is, or is this a reproduction made of plastic?
I haven't done that yet.
So we don't know if this is actually glass or not.
If you want that to be done, that could be another operation that we could do.
No, I'm just trying to find out what this thing is. Is it plastic? Is it real leaded glass from a vintage time period?
I don't know.
Okay. Could I call your attention to Exhibit A 5.1? You have some photographs of the building there. In particular, there's a beautiful photo of the front entrance.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait 1 second, Mr. Baumgartner. Andy, can you put that up for everybody?
Yeah, A-5.1.pdf. Right. If you could zoom in, is it possible to zoom in on that central photo of the front door? That's what I'm referring to. Zoom in some more if you could. Yeah, terrific, terrific. Okay, that's exactly what I was looking at. Now, it appears to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is also leaded glass. Both the side lights and the main door appear to have leaded glass windows embedded in them. Is that the case?
That appears to be the case.
Okay. Are you intending to keep this structure in its entirety?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you believe these can be saved? Have you examined them for damage or anything of that nature?
No.
Okay. Is there a protective sheet over these sidelights? Is there a solid glass panel over these sidelights?
I don't recall.
Okay. So this entire construct, the cornice, the trim with the emblems attached, the partial columns, the panels, this entire front entrance is going to be retained, just repainted.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. The door is currently varnished, I believe. Is that the case?
Seems to be, yes, stained.
Okay. What's the interior finish of that door?
Same.
Are you intending to maintain that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let me go back to another exhibit. I'm sorry, I have to click through these myself. I have them open on my computer here. Trying to find the right one. Okay, A-4.1.pdf. Are you going to put that up, or I could wait? Oh, there we go. Okay, the very first image here that says west elevation. My understanding from what you've described is that there's currently an existing shed addition on the back of the main body of the house. Is that correct?
Yes, there's a dashed line that shows that.
Right. Okay. It's right there. Line of existing one-story roof. Okay. And the intent is to demolish this completely down to the foundation and replace it with what you've pictured here.
Correct.
Okay. And in addition to that, you're doing what is commonly referred to, I think, as a gut rehab.
To the extent necessary on the main part of the house, yes.
Okay. So new construction combined with quote unquote a gut rehab to reconfigure the spaces of the main house. Okay. You've testified several times about lifestyle choices, such as waking up and having coffee and things of that nature. Is that within the purview of the profession of architect?
It's my client's wishes, and as an architect, you design something to meet the client's needs and desires. So you can have them testify directly. I'm interpreting what they told me as to how it pertained to how I approached the design of this structure.
Okay. One also designs to the zoning standards and architectural requirements. Is that not correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you have testified that you are not familiar with the preservation standards in the zoning code for architecture.
Well, not all of them. What I tried to do is to maintain any historical pieces of the house in the sense, meaning we're not turning the house into a stucco something, whatever, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It still maintains the same character that it has. There are different fenestrations and a deck on top of a low hipped roof in the front, but the remainder of it is trying to be true to the existing nature of the house.
Okay, thank you. If we could pan over to the right, the next image to the right with the same zoom level. Okay, I call your attention to this. This is the proposed new facade, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you consider sliding glass doors to be a modern construct, or is that something that's historically traditional?
Well, obviously it's more of a modern approach, but these being French-looking sliding doors, they have a beautiful aesthetic to them.
What exactly is a French door?
Well, it's not like a aluminum frame, it's a wood frame. It looks like a wood frame French door. These also could be French doors, and it was discussed, but the swinging of the doors would inhibit access in the space. We could swing them out. If the board so says, make them French doors, we could create French doors.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So a French door specifically is swinging doors paired.
That's my thought process on that. And
Okay, so these are in fact single light sliding modern doors.
yes.
Okay. Is there some reason why you believe that these modern doors conform to the historic character of this neighborhood?
I don't think they're terribly out of character, seeing as it's done elsewhere. And the nature of the design of these, sliding doors is, more of a French door looking thing, meaning more of a hinge. It looks like a hinge door for the most part.
Is this typical on an American Foursquare, which this house is?
Well, obviously not, because it wouldn't have a second floor deck necessarily.
Okay. Is there some reason why there's no cornice or architectural embellishment at the tops of these proposed doors?
We could do that if necessary. There's no reason in particular.
And this, what's being called an awning window, proposed awning window. I'm not clear what an awning window is. What is that?
It's really the shape of the window or the style. It could be a fixed kind of square window. It's a square. It's probably going to be a fixed window, not an awning. So that's like a bad nomenclature on my part.
Well, what would be an awning window? I'm just curious.
Awning window cranks and it opens, hinges at the top.
Ah,
Opens out.
sort of like a casement, but hinged at the top.
Yes.
Okay. Now, just below that window is a fireplace exhaust.
That's correct.
Okay. And I believe you testified that this is the current location of the stained glass window that we don't know the condition of.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts about how to reuse that stained glass window somewhere? How about moving the stained glass window to the first floor between your proposed new door and the main entry? Is there a problem with doing that?
If plan would allow, there's a wall right in between. So I don't know how it would fit into that wall in plan. So it would be something that could be studied. But I'm
right.
That the aesthetic of that is appropriate.
Would it be problematic to change the size of the first floor proposed new door to more match the existing front entrance in size and scale?
Aesthetically, it's confusing to have two front door looking things. So I would say I wouldn't do that. Again, this is more like a French door looking item. So it looks more like a long window, if you will. And that's the intent of French doors that open up into a deck. They're really meant to be like long windows.
Well, windows typically have casings at the top to shed water, a cornice and a casing, don't they?
Well, I'm just saying in terms of its proportion. You can get into the detail of the molding above, that's fine. That's not as much of an issue. We can do that. But this one's
wouldn't it be more conducive to preserving the character of this property and the context to somewhat replicate the massing and scale of the existing moldings that are above the front door? That is historically significant, isn't it?
It is, but it makes this front door a special entrance if it has its own special molding. If you did it everywhere, it wouldn't be special. So
it could be done in a lesser scale, could it not?
It could be, but the head of the window, I'm sorry, the head of the existing window in the living room, which is to the right of the front door, is up at 8 feet. So it's almost to the top, it's almost to the ceiling of the porch roof. So if we lowered it to get a cornice over it, it would now be uneven with the windows on the east side, and that would be odd.
So you could have a 7-foot door instead of an 8-foot door. Doesn't 8 foot seem a bit excessive to take up that
The
entire
head of that
space?
door is the head of the window that's there now and the head of the windows on the east side. So within the room, if you had 2 east side windows at 8 feet and the south side window at 7 feet, it would be odd. The other
From
thing-
the inside, you're saying?
Yeah, from an interior standpoint, of course.
I see.
And
So what do you believe,
also-
what do you believe is, I'm
also-
sorry, go ahead.
Also, there's a porch roof over this window and not really much cause for a water infiltration issue.
Mm-hmm. From a public perspective, what do you think is more significant, the interior view of the windows or the exterior view to the public in a historic district?
Well, it's probably an exterior concept, but that doesn't mean you can't marry the two and create something beautiful for both. And then that's what.
That's true. You could. It is possible. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. All right, Andy, are there any further questions in the public for Mr. Passman?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Steinberg.
I would like to do 2 things. Number one, I don't think we're going to conclude tonight because some of the suggestions made by some of the comments could leave us to amend the plans slightly so that the finished product that we're thinking about can better be expressed to the board. That's number one. Number two, we're going to consult the planner, as you suggested, and we'll decide whether or not we want planning testimony. Number three, I'd love to find out when the ordinance is going to be in effect, so 2 of these variances go away. And number, pardon me?
I understand that. I can't really.
You can't tell me, I understand. And number 4, I would like to present Dr. Rayo and her husband to give us some testimony concerning the use of the studies tonight. And then I would ask that the matter be carried.
I would prefer not to do Dr. Rao and her husband tonight, only because that will again open it up to the board members and to the public. So I think we're going to have to hold back on that testimony.
Well, it was just only because your planner had brought that up as a concern.
I understand that, but I think what you really need, Mr. Steinberg, is to hear some of the comments so far from the board members before you do anything else.
That would be great. That would be fine.
Mark,
Okay.
what you can do is give Michelle Alonso a call. She might be able to tell you when these ordinances might be
Yeah,
adopted by council.
Yeah, but I think that's an important issue for the board also.
Absolutely. No, we're
Yeah.
mindful of that.
Yeah.
It
no
is, but
FAR.
I think you have a much larger issue, Mr. Steinberg. So I think it's more important that we start off listening to some of the board members' comments.
Thanks.
So that will help you come back better prepared. Don't you agree?
I agree.
Okay. So let's get some comments about what everyone's seen so far, and we can go from there. So I want to open it up to the board members. I'm not going to call you individually. Please just step up to the plate and make your comments.
Okay, Dan Harris, I do have one concern about a first floor bedroom which opens up to a porch. I have safety concerns on that. I understand wanting to have a bedroom on the first floor, but then to put a porch there, which is somewhat accessible, and I don't consider that very safe. If anybody want to answer that for me?
Yeah, I think the architect can answer that. I don't believe that the first floor bedroom opens up to any porches. There's just access through a door, isn't there? Don?
It does not open directly. It does not open directly onto the deck. There's a little hallway there between.
You go from the hallway to the deck, not from the the bedroom to the deck.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you have any other comments, Mr. Harris?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'll go. I don't have a problem with the second floor deck. I understand the reason for it. There's a lot of homes along Sunset that have it. I agree with the city historian about sliders up there. I think it's odd or looks odd. I don't know if there's something you can do to either dress it up or French doors, I think, are better. I think sometimes you'll see a set of French doors kind of right in the middle that open up instead of the two sliders. I just think it looks awkward. I think aesthetically it's just a little off. You know, I think those are really my only two comments. I don't have any other really big issues here.
anybody else?
I'll go.
Please.
Okay. This is Catherine Minervini. Well, first of all, I just want to comment, Dan's question about the bedroom opening up to the second floor, that's, I
First
see.
floor.
I'm sorry?
First floor. not
Okay,
first.
sorry, never mind, I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay, thanks. So I don't have, I'll tell you what I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem so much with the height variance. I don't have a problem with the back elevation. I think the upper deck, although Donna suggested maybe it step back a little bit, I'm kind of okay with it. I understand that probably structurally it's more efficient to have it go to the edge. Also, it looks like there's the side of the roof line that's maybe keeping it a little private, which is nice. What I have a problem with is I do not like that front upper deck. I don't think it's in line with what's happening on Sunset. Yes, there are about, I think I counted a few, I think I counted 4 or 5 as well, including the one right next door. The one next door looks like it is not a deck. It is actually a porch because it's covered, and it looks like it's integral in the original architecture. You also, the architect cited across the way from this location on 5th Avenue. Yes, I think there are some upper decks. Those happen to be 2 families. So I think that this makes this house look like a 2-family. And I know that the family currently will be living there full time. However, they decide to sell it in a year. There's a lot of people that just like to buy investment properties. There's a lot of bedrooms in here. And I imagine that could also be looked at as a party house. So I'm just not really a fan of that. I think the sliding, I don't really understand. I work in the design industry. I don't understand all those sliders on the front. You're making the front of the house look like a back elevation. I think it's just not aesthetically pleasing. I think your idea about having French doors with grids is really insulting. Honestly, I find that really insulting. I think that sounds cheap. I think this house lends itself to integrating a modern look. I don't have a problem with that at all. I just think that talking about French doors and paneled windows, and it just sounds pretty awful. What else? I think that was it. I think those are my two things. I walk past that house all the time. I'm very familiar with it. Like I said, I don't have a problem with some of the other variances. I just have a real issue with the front elevation. And I also do think that there's a way to salvage that stained glass window, even in your design today. I mean, maybe move the fireplace. I don't know. I understand from an interior perspective, I get that, but there's probably some ways you can rework that and salvage it. But other than that, those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Kitty. Anybody else?
I'll go. This is Jill Potter. I have to agree with pretty much everything Kitty just said. The sliding doors are not at all adding any character to that house. It's detracting. It's in a historic Sunset Lake zone. We have to stay in line with that. again, adding grills, that's just like she said, it's an insult. It's a solution that's not a solution. I could deal with a second floor, but making it more look like a porch, a covered porch, something that fits with the time and the era and the neighborhood. I'm concerned about the sliding door also on the first floor. You know, somebody made a comment earlier, 2 doors would look confusing, but that's exactly what you did there in the plan. Again, making it look like a 2-family. I don't find that it's a unifying plan. And that's where I'm stuck. I'm stuck on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Anybody else?
I would
No
just like
one?
to add real quick. So there's not going to be an engineer that testifies, but I guess this more goes towards Doug. Is there anything that they can produce that would help with the stormwater increase since the impervious coverage is increasing? I know sometimes we, ask the applicant to consider the thing underneath the deck. It's like a pit. So I don't know if that was something that would benefit, or if Doug, if you and, your office are okay with how it's designed right now.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Doug. The only problem I have with that, Brittany, right now is that's not really a comment. That's more questions again for the engineering aspect. I really want you to know what you think currently of the application itself.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if we needed to have an engineer come next time.
No, we have Doug here, and an engineering report was not necessary for this application.
Okay.
So do you have anything about the application itself? Do you like the design? Do you dislike it?
I mean, everything that I think, Kitty and Jill really wrapped up about the front. I think that's my main issue. The back, I'm not so much worried about because the setbacks, they're within the rear yard setback and there's a lot of room back there. It's more the front. I have an issue with the design, not blending in.
So I'm going to echo everything that has been said already, Mark. I'm not very happy with the sliding glass doors. I think it eliminates the overall character of the home. As a Sunset Lake District house, it's historic in its overall concept and design. I think it does not meet the standards that have been set for the Sunset Lake District. I think you really need to take a look and come up with some better concepts.
We hear you.
There's a house on Fifth Ave down the block from me that I don't know when they did this, but they changed all their front windows to doors. Do yourselves a favor and go drive by it. It's pretty awful. And it's a beautiful house with a beautiful entry, just like the one you have. And it's strange and confusing. And I think you're really missing an opportunity to take away that big, beautiful glass double hung window. That's my personal opinion.
I have a tendency to agree with you. And also when I was looking at the plans, I said to myself, this is something that I definitely see when I'm going to Ocean Grove, where they have a lot of houses where people are coming and going in the summer. And that's the look that you have, but that's protected by their historical society. But those are pretty much hotels and not houses that people live in. And, I think we should stay with the character of the neighborhood. That's very important.
And at that point, Mr. Steinberg, I think we'll have to end it here.
Can we get a new date?
Yes, of course. Well, our next meeting is actually, I believe, May 11th. But there's an application already on. You would be second.
No. In all reality, if we're going to revise plans, those plans are going to have to be on file for 10 days.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have to be reviewed by our planner also to make sure there's no new doors. Closed one door, hopefully we don't open any new doors.
Yeah, I understand. So, I mean, the May 11th date is
Right.
not good. Is there a second date in May or first?
Yes,
week of June?
May 25th.
And I guess that if we can't get plans in, we can carry it from there if necessary.
Okay.
That would be up to you. Yes.
Okay, so, and I'll send a letter, by the way, tomorrow. So can we carry this matter to May 25th without any further public notice or publication? And all time periods in which the board must act are extended. And I will follow that through with a letter.
I appreciate that,
guess-
Mr. Steinberg, and we'll enter that as your letter stating so. And I'll make a motion to carry, I believe it's 705 Sunset Avenue to May 25th, 2021 without further notice.
May 25th,
Second.
21. You got it. Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. Thank you, board
Hold on,
members.
whoa,
for your
whoa, whoa,
time.
whoa, whoa, wait a minute. I got to do this on the record.
Oh, okay. It's a motion.
It's going to be motion to carry without further notice. Applicant has consented to
Time
extension of any time required. Hold on one second here. Okay, and so we're going to May 25th, 2021. From a legal perspective, you may want to ask Doug, and I think Mr. Mignoli might have made a good point. Got to check that new ordinance regarding plan requirements for engineering and the like. May not require anything, may require something, but it wouldn't hurt. Also, you're going to need to address the major versus minor situation about the offices that Mr. Passman testified to. That was brought out by Donna in the beginning because that's a legally significant issue. And that would be it. So that would be from my end. So the motion is from Mr. Avalone.
Yes.
Mary, and the second is,
I'll second.
okay. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Married is carried till that date. Members of the public who are listening, please come back on May 25th, 21 for further testimony, cross-examination, and public comments. There'll be no further notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberg. Thank you, Dr. Rao, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, neighbors.
Thank you.
Right, we can leave, right?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you
Thank
can.
you. Good night.
Good night.
Right.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll
second.
second it. No matter.
I think it was Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned.
Right.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Aye.